Hey everyone, it's the Oxley Bomb MotoGP podcast, talking about Brno, round 9 of the 22-round MotoGP Championship of 2026. Me, Matt Oxley, old journalist, old racer, and Peter Bomb, old good guy. That's all he is. He's just a really nice guy. Doesn't know anything, especially about MotoGP. He's just a really nice bloke. That's why I tolerate him. No, obviously Peter knows more about MotoGP than probably the rest of the media centre put together, to be honest. So that's why we have him. That's why we have him here. So, I mean, a pretty astonishing weekend at Brno, for various reasons, some on track, some off track. Marc Marquez winning again. I mean, fuck me, with 1 3/4 arms. Going into the Hungarian Grand Prix 2 weeks ago, he was 102 points behind the championship lead. He's now 40 points behind the championship lead. And I know that's not all his own work.
No.
It's the work of Jorge Martin and the work of Marco Bezzecchi that have kind of helped him along there. And I think we should probably talk about Marco Bezzecchi first, shouldn't we? Because, you know, what happened yesterday during the sprint. Just a quick recap. I'm sure everyone's seen it. But 2 laps to the end, Marco, who was kind of, what was he, 4th or 5th? He wasn't in the fight at all. Lost the front going into turn 3. Bike came to a stop, but the engine didn't stop. When Marco realized the engine was still running, he ran over, and as one of the marshals were trying to pick the bike up, and he obviously was lifting it up by the handlebars, the engine started revving. So Marc gave him a push first and then a slap second. I think he might have got away with the push, but the slap was, you know, you can't do that. You cannot do that to a race official, you know, whoever you are. So he was just thrown out of today's race. What did you think about the whole thing, Peter?
I saw a little video passing, and that I think I counted 2 slaps, which is
a
always
push and then a slap.
Which is always one too many. I mean, he's so unlucky. We get it, but we should not tolerate it. And it's one of the harshest punishments possible on it for this. And he gets almost the maximum punishment for it. I think he's unlucky in the way that he's an example. Probably, you never know what race direction was thinking. But yeah, it's just impossible. It's just an impossible thing to do. Clearly, and not just because of the engine. Sure, these manufacturers have a lot of, like a whole strategy behind if an engine needs to stop or not. He doesn't need to go to that red switch quickly because otherwise the engine dies. The engine is taking care of itself, the issue. They monitor oil pressures, temperatures and everything, and it will cut off itself. So he shouldn't have done it. He was probably more frustrated than anything else. Many times I'm surprised by the riders' reaction in even a short sprint race or the last 5 minutes of qualifying. They really want to get back to the bike, even when there are no wheels in it. You know, try to do something with it. I get it, but it doesn't make a lot of sense. So yesterday, with 2 laps to go, being in the gravel trap in turn 3, there's nothing to do. So it's just adrenaline, and riders need, especially MotoGP, which are example riders. These are the elite of the sport, where everybody looks up to. They have definitely, they are examples for younger people, for everybody else, and you can't do that. So, but there is no defense. But maybe you first, because I have another subject that is related.
I mean, I see that, you know, I've experienced the red mist as a racer myself, and it's a horrible thing. It really is. You know, you'd probably, if you didn't get hold of yourself, you'd happily strangle someone to death, probably pretty. You know, I mean, you are so in the kind of warrior mindset, like, I want to kill everybody. I mean, remember Marco Simoncelli said once famously, he said, in the race, you want to kill all the other riders. Yeah. And although he didn't mean it literally, he meant, you know, you want to, like, you want to kill everyone. But obviously I completely see what happened, but what he did as a result of his red mist was completely unacceptable. You cannot whack a race official. You cannot do that. And you know, okay, so the fact that the marshal was revving the engine by mistake, and it wouldn't have been anywhere near. We heard it they had an onboard of the crash and on the aftermath. You could hear it revving. It was nowhere near like the red line. I know the thing's on its side, so all the crankshafts out of the oil and all that kind of stuff. But, again, that's not enough of an excuse there's no excuse for hitting somebody. It doesn't matter what they do. And you've also got to remember that the marshals are in the line of fire.
Yep.
They're in a rush because they don't know whether another bike's going to come catapulting through the gravel trap and take them out. They want to get out of there as fast as they can. So the fact that one of them made a slight mistake, is not that big a deal. A lot of people are saying, "Oh, well, he shouldn't have done that." Well, yeah, but you try standing in a gravel trap with sort of 80-mile-an-hour motorbikes coming towards you. You won't be too chilled and relaxed and say, "Oh, I've got to get this right." You're just going to be rushing. So you cannot blame the marshal. And even if you could, it does not exonerate what Bezzecchi did. And I feel sorry for him, definitely. Because I like the guy. I really like the guy. I mean, I know you're not so keen, Peter, the way he deals with the press. But I really like him. He's generally super chilled. He's one of the most chilled riders.
Yeah.
He's a bit of a hippie, and he's pretty chilled out. But like I said, the red mist is a horrible, horrible thing.
100%. And he made up a lot when he went this morning there. I know it's all fabricated and a camera team comes with them and he goes to but he could have just hand over the glove, shake hands and pissed off. Sure. He didn't. He stayed there for almost forever. I mean, he was hugging and shaking hands with everybody.
Well, he was in tears. He was wiping his eyes with his t-shirt.
It worked. He got a penalty and it made him clearly realize, okay, this is something you really cannot do, because we all depend on the marshals. They're not highly paid people. They're very professional, but we can't have a motorbike race without them. And honestly, I was normally I don't know anything about this, but on Saturday in qualifying Moto 2, when Alonso crashed out just after the first flying lap, which already put him on pole, and then in turn 1, the end of turn 1, he lost the front and the bike went in the gravel trap. I was thinking just think, oh shit, these marshals are really, really good, because they saw the bike and him coming. They already started running, but while they were running, they kept an eye on the rider and the bike and kept an eye on each other. That was super, very professional how they dealt with the situation. Started running before the bike came to a still, but kept an eye on everything that happened. So I was thinking, okay, the guys saw the crash happening, already running, very, very professional. We need them all over the world. So I think Marco realized this as well, that he did something that was quite bad for everybody, and he turned around completely. And I love it. People can make mistakes, but the quality of somebody's mindset or his character is how you react to it. Not that you never make a mistake, but you reacted beautifully to it, what we saw this morning. So all cool.
Yeah. I mean, he had to be, punishments are there not only to punish the person, but also to discourage the others, so that would have done both those jobs. And I mean, you look at football, you're talking about a minimum.
No, don't look at football. Just don't.
Minimum 6-game ban for in rugby, 12 weeks, apparently 3 months. In F1, I've been sort of doing a bit of research. I can't find anybody having hit an official since James Hunt decked somebody, a marshal, after crashing in the 1977 Canadian Grand Prix. He was fined some massive amount of money, but you could get away with stuff in those days. There were wilder days. Nowadays, in F1, you would have your license suspended for a certain amount of time because you can't. I mean, it's like punching a policeman. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. In real life, if you punch another person, you're in trouble. If you punch a policeman, you're in fucking serious trouble. Assaulting, it's the same thing. These are the people who are meant to be in charge, so you're best not
and there to protect us and help us. So he realized it completely, but he still leaves the Brno GP to DNFs, DNS even, but still leading the championship. I mean, what a chaos we have at Aprilia.
Yeah. I mean, you think that Bezzecchi won the first 3 Grand Prix leading every single lap. And then we come to this where he scored 7 points from the last 2 weekends, which have a maximum score of 74. So he scores, you know what I mean? So it's kind of sad to see what's happened, really, because, what happened to Bez and I'm sure what happened to him at Hungary was still part of what happened on Saturday, because, everything's kind of gone wrong. He can see the whole thing was there and now it's kind of disappearing, and that's, but again, no excuse. Yeah, I mean, it's just all gone wrong from Aprilia, whilst all going right for Ducati. How things have changed,
Yeah, but
at the beginning of the
next week
season.
can change again.
Exactly.
This is why we are here. That's why we make this podcast.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, I think, was it after the last race? We're now back to Honda and Yamaha 10, 15 years ago, where every championship was basically Honda versus Yamaha. And you go to one circuit and the Honda would be better. You go to the next and the Yamaha would be better, so on and so forth. And now we're in the same situation with Ducati and Aprilia. The bikes are so similar that it just depends on which conditions, which circuit suits them. Plus, of course, whether you've got Marc Marquez on your bike. I mean, for fuck's sake, Jesus Christ. I mean, what do you do?
We go straight to Marc. He was super tired. He looked like super unfit, super tired. And when they were talking, the three of them before the podium. Yeah. And today. Today. Right. Yesterday he looked more like angry, but today he was super, super tired. The guy is far from fit, not because he's lazy, but because of what he's been through. Pecco actually, Ogura, you never know what Ogura thinks. You never know. You don't know. He can be devastated, destroyed, or he can be world champion. You don't see it. So he's not easy to. But he looked. Even Mark said, "Okay, you look surprisingly fit. That's our problem." But he's 25 years old. He said, but Pecco also. Pecco is just. He doesn't speak a lot about it, but he is fit.
Yeah. No, Mark looked like he looked. Well, he looked pretty destroyed at the end of and unhappy at the end of the sprint. And I think the reason he was unhappy was he knew that third was actually a pretty rubbish result. I think if he'd got a better start, he would have got a better result in the sprint. But I mean, he is, he said until the operation after Le Mans, he said he was racing with 1.5 arms. He's probably 1 3/4 now, and he says the problem is that he's having to use all the other parts of his body to compensate for that arm, and that is not an easy way to ride, But the really devastating thing he said, Assen will be very difficult because it's not a great circuit for him, and you need, because all those super high speed flicks, you need a lot of strength. But he said that he hopes to come back after 2 weeks after that at Sachsenring and being able to attack again. So the guy that's won 2 of the last Grand Prix and one of the sprints says he's going to be ready to attack again, Well, no, I think he will be. He will be. But sure, but he's not 100% way off it, No, I would say 85%.
He could have been a lot more dominant this weekend than he was.
Yeah.
He's still coming back. Ducati Lenovo team is on my list of impressive things that happened this weekend, because they found a way to make this. I think that's the front tire. They had a crazy pace from the go in the race. So they have something that allows them the first couple of laps to be super aggressive and do crazy good lap times considering the full fuel load. And then don't pay the penalty for that later. So clever. I mean, this weekend Ducati made a difference on tires. Yeah. They had the rear tire that everybody should have had probably, or they made the tire work that nobody could get away with yesterday. And now they are from the first couple of laps can do a crazy pace and don't pay the penalty. That's super impressive.
Yeah. They with Marquez and Bagnaia were the only guys to go with the soft yesterday. Everybody else went with the medium. And even during qualifying, I noticed that yesterday that most riders were doing, in fact, nearly all the riders were doing just one fast lap on a new tyre in qualifying. Pretty much all the top riders were doing just one fast lap. And then some of them doing a slow lap to let the tyre cool down and then going again. And I thought, well, there's no way the soft is going to last for the sprint. But like you say, Ducati made it work, And they got Bagnaia first and Marquez third. So, very impressive. And Marc, 40 points now. And he's finally admitting it. Yeah, he is in the hunt for the title. Of course he is. It's pretty astonishing, to be honest. Great to see Bagnaia. He's kind of seemed to be, kind of at one with that bike again, pretty much most of the time, not all the time. And Ogura as well. Just great to see Ogura. But he's still got a lot to learn. People were saying, oh, well, maybe he'll win his first race. He obviously got his first pole yesterday. second in the sprint, second in the main race. You need time to learn what to do at the front of a race nowadays, don't you? You don't just go gangbusters and win. There's so much strategy and how you save the tires, how you save your body, how you use the tires. Yeah, whether you can use the front tire as hard as you want in the early laps, which is what he said afterwards, that he just wasn't strong enough in the early laps. That the Ducatis were just too strong for him. So I think you're right, Peter, that they had something that allows them to go at full race pace, and also Marc overtaking Fabio Di Giannantonio at turn 3 on the first lap. That's not easy. So the Lenovo team, I would imagine, had something special. And we know they do, because we went to Ohlins last week and discovered that they have a completely different shop from everyone else, which we will mention at the end of the podcast. But which obviously helps them in various situations, mainly on exits. But who knows? Maybe it does something on the entry as well now. I don't know. But we won't get into that now because it'll get confusing. But Agura, top Aprilia guy. Why do you think the factory Aprilias just weren't there? Because they're second and third rows in qualifying, and in the race yesterday in the sprint, they were basically nowhere. They were, the two factory Ducatis and Agura pissed off into the distance. Any theories?
Bezzecchi would have been there on a normal Sunday, because Bezzecchi that is on the first
I was talking
two
about
rows.
yesterday. I was talking about yesterday.
Okay, no, but he's never the guy in the sprints. So for me, Bezzecchi yesterday, the only strange thing was that he crashed. But he hates the sprints. The sprints cost him him a lot. But also Bezzecchi that crashed on Saturday is better on Sunday. And starting from the second row with the Aprilia, he would have been in the mix. He would have been on the podium today, and normally, always. So then we wouldn't have this question, why the factory Aprilias, and it's just, there's only 4 of them. And did a super job in qualifying by understanding quickly that the limit on that day with these tires was even a lot further than everybody expected. And he tried it, and he was right. And then you're 2 times faster than everybody else, which in MotoGP is a lot. With that, he saved his whole weekend. Then he did everything with, I can't stress enough how much respect I have for him. I know it's already his second year, but it's also only his second year. And then being on the front row, all the pressure, he didn't put no foot wrong all weekend. He didn't do anything stupid, anything crazy. He didn't try to react immediately and counter-attack on the next corner. He just took it as it was. He knew his limit. Probably the limit was a little bit further. He could have probably done a little bit more. We will never know. But super stable and fast. The way Agura learns is super, super impressive. And the Aprilia factory, Martin is all over the place. He's completely, his head is not good. And Bezzecchi, we know he should have been there today. I expected him to be there. Raul Fernandez has a physical problem and is anyway a guy that's too much up and down. So that's it for the Aprilias. It's a beautiful bike. It's the best bike on the grid. I still insist. But Ducati handled their tires a little bit better. And Aprilia, again, have something weird going on with the riders. It's the thing of the year.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Yeah, even at the beginning of the year when Aprilia were kind of winning everything, the gap between, it might be the best bike, but the difference isn't big between them and the Ducati.
No.
And, Ducati have obviously worked very hard to kind of catch up. And, I think it's just going to seesaw like that.
Which is beautiful.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
Probably comes down to different tracks, so having a different, your bike the bikes are in the end not exactly all the same. So they have their different strengths and weaknesses, and probably Asse is a complete Aprilia track or not. I think it is, actually. But then we go to Sachsenring, where whatever is under Marc's ass is good enough, usually. We see. I don't know.
Yeah. You think Assen last year, Marc won, but I think that was there was Silverstone, but Silverstone was a weird race because the front tyre didn't work for the Ducatis. But when we went to Assen, Marco chased Marc all the way and was getting really out of shape. So it was fantastic watching him. He was really out of shape and really trying. And that was probably the time where you thought, wow, okay, Aprilia are pretty much there, and they kept on getting better and better for the rest of the year. And, that's kind of, you could say, middle of last season, I would say, was when the Aprilia started to pretty much be on a level with the Ducati, and they've just never stopped getting better. Since.
If Marco Bezzecchi is on your ass for all race, if on Marc Marquez on a factory Ducati, then I think your Aprilia is pretty fucking good.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And maybe you first.
Yeah, I mean, Fabio Di Giannantonio, he kind of basically destroyed his race today. I was just talking about Marc overtaking him at turn 3 on the first lap. He didn't let Marc go, quite understandably. He didn't let Marc go and tried to kind of retake him into turn 4, it's the left-right, and got on the gas too hard, lost the rear, and big mistake, and quite a few people came past him. I think he ended the first lap in 6th, and that nowadays is a disaster, and he basically said he blew the race there because he was the fastest guy at the end of the race, and lap record on the last lap. So nearly caught Bagnaia napping, because Bagnaia had that problem that they all had here. As soon as you're behind somebody, your front tire spikes in temperature and pressure and you have no grip. So, I mean, another lap, Di Giannantonio would have got him, I'm sure. But
Pecco should have been faster on leading the race to spread it out a little bit more. He didn't have the super pace.
No.
So he was just fast enough that the others couldn't really try a lot. So they decided to follow him, maybe follow him on a distance like Marc did to cool your tire. But in the end, he just wasn't fast enough. And the vulnerability we saw with Pecco, which is completely understandable if I compare him with Marc, is that as soon as the tire drops a little bit, his performance drops more than Marc's.
Yeah.
And when Marc was passing him and had to make the gap because Ayagura was coming like I usually does in the end of the race, he was starting to ride the Ducati out of shape and still be fast. Which is super, super difficult.
Yeah.
Normally that makes you crash or go slow. So Marc made a difference in that 1-2 laps that he passed Pecco and then put the hammer down and was completely on the limit with that bike. Just enough to keep Aya at distance.
Yeah. And they just left everybody else behind. There was like a 10-second gap between Di Giannantonio and Joan Mir in 5th. I mean, that's huge. I mean, that's very
finishing
unusual.
5th on 12 seconds. On 12 seconds, you should finish 12th, Not 5th.
Yeah. I mean, why would you say that was? Because it's super grippy at Brno and the fast guys can take more advantage of that, or what?
Something like that. I'm honestly thinking that everybody was surprised about the grip level, and then you need... Then the best guys don't need a lot of laps to understand that and pick up the game, and others need more time. And that's then the train is already gone. That must have been the case. Sure. I mean, yesterday I was, like I said yesterday, I think I said it yesterday also in our supporters podcast, that I was impressed by Toprak being every lap the fastest Yamaha, and of course the first on the finish as well, because they choose the medium rear tire, which was a strange choice in the sprint, but him and his crew found out that for the current Yamaha, which is a disaster bike, was the best option.
Yeah.
So they're all surprised. They're all looking for, what is the reason, what to do? And if you learn that just a little bit quicker than the rest, and Ducati on tire-wise, they just have a machine that studies tires very well. Exactly. And then strange situations like here, they're worth every penny they cost, because they invest heavily in tire data and management and study and simulations and whatever.
They have a whole department that looks after it, and all the others are copying them now. Because as we always say, all that really matters is the tyres. I mean, Di Giannantonio's new lap record was a half a second faster than last year's lap record. Wow. That doesn't happen very often.
Yeah.
But obviously last year the tarmac, the asphalt was new.
Exactly, yeah.
And now it's obviously just perfectly bedded in and just perfect.
Super high temperatures, and sometimes tarmac can get worse for grip wise at that moment. It was all just, all the classes had lap records, sometimes even on Friday morning already. So that's what the track condition did. Yep, super compliments for Brno, because they come from far. I mean, it's been a classic track and everybody loves it, but the organization was always a bit like weird and dodgy and so on, and then coming back and resurfacing it, but they had a really good job done resurfacing, making it completely smooth and flat. Very good tarmac on it, so compliments. It is possible.
Yeah, no, absolutely, and it's a big track, like one of the biggest. And I'm so glad it's back on the calendar, and I hope it remains. We don't know.
The riders couldn't stop raving about how especially Friday afternoon, they were all just like, this is such a beautiful track, because they've got you teach me the name is S's of them, but these S's are so fast that you go 65-degree banking angle, left, right, left, right, left, right for a longer time. And this is what is the thrill, which is the adrenaline for the riders, to spend more time on a higher speed with a maximum banking angle. Yeah. This is why we are racing.
Yeah, I mean, you think we went from Mugello, one of the best, to Balaton, the worst, to Brno, one of the best. I mean, sort of really made Balaton stand out by having it between those two. I mean, Mir. I mean, he made the soft last all the time, all the race. I mean, crazy. I mean, basically, he said that he's very much a front end rider. The Honda is very much a front end bike even now, and that the soft gave him more stability going into corners. But remarkable that he made it last.
Hey, this reminds me of somebody when he was at Honda, was always choosing the soft rear, even when nobody else did. So the DNA of Honda is in a way still the same.
Yeah. You're talking about Marc Marquez, of course. Yeah. And we should talk about Pedro Acosta. Wow. He dropped out at the sprint as well, didn't he? I think. I mean, just the KTM reliability issues. Oof, hard to know what to say, really, because
that's the thing. I mean, KTM really struggles with reliability, and this time again, it was something you heard when we heard onboard when there was an onboard view with the microphone. The engine just didn't die. He closed the gas. I think the dashboard went completely red, saying stop.
Yeah,
because he immediately knew. Oh, that's it. It's not like suddenly he had to turn 2-3 times the throttle or shift down a gear to find out the engine was dead. No, immediately.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is. Apart from in Barcelona, the bike stopped by itself, which created a super dangerous situation. Today, he decided to stop it.
Yeah.
Which is another thing, which remind me of earlier this year when Ayagura, on podium course, in Austin had to stop the Aprilia. That, what I was told, was down to the pneumatic valve system being on too low a pressure. These pneumatic valves, which replace the steel or titanium springs, they leak. So you start with a reservoir with a certain amount of... you have a reservoir that should be big enough, but if you leak more than you expected, then before you destroy your whole engine, the dashboard goes red and says stop. That happened on Aprilia in Austin, and probably here as well. I know that KTM, since the beginning of last year, are even on the grid sometimes topping up the reservoir, which is a weird thing. Because a couple of years ago, you saw somewhere in a corner of the pit box, you saw these bottles, but now we see them topping it up all the time. Yeah,
I think KTM top up their pneumatic valve canisters on the grid as well. Yeah, I mean
that's what I said. I immediately. Sorry, I was speaking about KTM by now.
Oh, sorry.
KTM started to do that a lot. So,
it's another advantage of desmodromic valves, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean KTM is in all sorts of problems. This is definitely. I mean, reliability problems are such a bad light on a manufacturer. It shines so bad. Well, at least it does in my book. But secondly, with the riders, if Acosta wasn't there, they would be thinking they're worse than Yamaha. Because their riders are all over the place mentally. They have no proper, complete feedback that goes in one direction. And the riders, when you change something, immediately go faster or slower. I mean, Jesus, they're in a hole.
Yeah, it is a bit of a worry. It is a bit of a worry. They're lucky they've got Red Bull. But because of the Austrian connection. But it's a serious worry to be slow and unreliable. Is not a good place to be, and a very unusual place to be as well. Generally, bikes, you can get bikes that are fast and unreliable, or slow and reliable. So to do both the bad things is horrible.
Well, of course, that was going to be P4. I think he had to drop. I think he had to drop a pace because he realized, his dashboard was telling him in front tire pressure. He was riding more or less alone for way longer than you can expect, and nobody has a crystal ball. So he needed to drop a place and then stay there and try to fight back again later. So if you would have finished P4, everything will be nice and shiny for KTM. But It's not. He's the only guy that's fast on the KTM. The others are so far behind him, it's not even worth comparing them. And then again, a DNF because of a mechanical. Wow.
Yeah. And he in the sprint he crashed out. I just I had slight memory loss there. He crashed out of the sprint yesterday because his ride height was malfunctioning. It hadn't flicked back, so he was fiddling around trying to get it to come off and crashed. I mean, wow. Yeah, not good. And I mean, you look at the sort of people. Luca Marini 8th on the Honda, Martin 9th after 2 long laps, but Marini's like 21 seconds back, so it's like a second a lap, which is a huge difference. Yeah,
that's not just the first couple of laps where you don't have the tires like Ducati has now. That is
Jorge Martin doing the long lap was one of the highlights of the weekend, I think, just because just doing it. I think pretty much every out lap and every in lap, just to clean the asphalt, and B to to just get the hang of it. He was pretty impressive. And we should also just mention the Moto2 race, Ortola winning after doing the long lap, taking Alonso. As you were talking about this track's fantastic S's instead of shitty little chicanes like Balaton, you can actually overtake in the middle of them, and that's where Ortola won the Moto2 race, taking Alonso into the final right, which is why you saw Marquez getting a bit jiggy going through the final S's for the last time, because he was kind of like, well, if Ortola could do that, that'd probably definitely give Ogura a bit of an idea, but I mean, it's a fantastic track. Absolutely fantastic. And we go to another great one next week. So, yeah. The
thing which I find clever from Aprilia is they were told if you do the long lap and you go back on the track over the green, that's a penalty. That's not a penalty. That's counts for your penalty. That's one. And he realized, okay, then we just do 2 of them. Then I accept that I will have 2 times the green already hit it. But it's a lot faster than not going on the green. So purposely
absolutely.
you went on the green, and then it's all okay. That was kind of clever because it still leaves you with 2 more times to go on the green, which should be fine.
But the rejoin,
all his performance was just far below what he is possible, what he's able to do on an Aprilia.
He's not with it at the moment. He's not with it. But his rejoin, I think, after the second one, that was fucking scary, man. I mean, woof. And I would say you would have to think about putting the long lap in a different place at Brno.
Turn 1, just that will teach you. That's 10 seconds.
Turn 1, that'll serve them right. Because, I mean, it is kind of crazy.
It's the best place.
Ortola, he said he lost 1.1 seconds.
Yeah.
And that's
he didn't
not
even
much.
Lose second position.
But no, I know. But a 1 second penalty? What's that for? I mean, to me, surely a penalty needs to be more than 1 second.
Well, there we are. On some tracks, it's 2.5 seconds if you do the long lap. So when you want to be naughty, think about what track we are on the next week, and then decide again if you really want to be naughty.
I guarantee that some riders will think about that. One of them being Marc Marquez, because he's always thinking about the, all those kind of things. Yeah, and also we should have a word for Diogo Moreira. Sorry, I mean, wow, he was just astonishing. A rookie on a Honda, qualifies on the second row. I know he was chasing somebody in qualifying, but if you get a toe off somebody in qualifying or any other time, doesn't mean you just magic the lap. You still got to do it yourself. It takes as much skill to follow somebody as it does to be followed. It just gives you a bit of something to chase.
So he crashed out yesterday after half a lap, and so for sure he was not going to crash out today. Yeah, because he is like that. He's clever enough to know, okay, not crashing out, not doing the same again. And now learning how to do a race with the front guys, because you learn so much when you're riding up front. These guys are not just fast in front; they ride differently, and lots of small little things. And clever guys pick that quickly up. But you need to be riding with them to learn. So he did ride with him. He got passed by a lot of people, but still, it was for me. It's not Ayagura level, but he is really a rookie. So on your first year. And again, it proves that if you do a good job on Friday, he arrived here and he had immediately the pace. Friday morning, Friday afternoon, did something special. Sometimes maybe it helps being a rookie then if the grip level is somewhere where nobody expected it, you didn't got that memo. You don't know. You just try harder. And he was straight there. So he did Friday afternoon good, qualifying super good, follow it. But everybody in the group where he is, they all follow somebody. Now look at Rins. He never goes out alone.
No, sure.
When it's qualifying. So they all do that, and still you have to do it. So now I'm curious to see if he can build on the momentum he had here, because the next track, Asse, is not very similar from here.
No,
so.
and it's completely unique and therefore very hard to kind of get your head around. Before we go any further, if you are a brand that wants to become involved with our podcast, which reaches place that other podcasts can't, we are working with the Smash Brand Group out of Sydney to build partnerships with the Oxley Bomb Mudgersby podcast. If you are curious, just head to smashbrandgroup.com.au and get in touch. That is smashbrandgroup.com.au and get in touch. Thank you. Okay, who else do we need to talk about?
Not a lot for me, but maybe for you.
There's really no point talking about Yamaha. I mean, just no point, nothing that we can say that we haven't already said. They had another horrible weekend.
It looks even worse now. And in a way, I get that, because the riders start the season fully motivated. They know they have another they bring a knife to a gunfight, but we're still going to try. But one by one, they all stop trying, except Toprak, who still, because he needs to learn everything, and he maybe that's his character as well. Fabio stopped trying, and then it's not completely closing the throttle, but he doesn't do his Fabio magic anymore, because he learned that's only dangerous, and it's still not bring me anything. I understand Fabio a lot, because he tried a lot longer than you would sometimes expect from people in his position, that he finally says, okay, enough is enough. I completely get it. But that means also that if the riders
still managed to crash out today.
Yeah. Jesus. So that's the thing. If the riders lost that kind of motivation, it's not like they're going a couple of seconds slower over the whole race, but then the feedback is worse. The motivation goes down inside the team. Maybe the next time you have something falling off of the bike. Jesus. Then now they're in a really difficult position, because they must feel like devastated. Nothing happens. And I blame Yamaha, because by now we should have seen some progress. I know some riders, especially Miller, can be quite positive about the positive aspects of the bike, but in total, the lap time and the position is the reality, and then they just seems to go more backwards than forwards, which is just horrible to see from Yamaha.
Yeah. I mean, Toprak's best day of the year is tomorrow, Monday, because that's when he gets to try the 850 Yamaha and, most importantly, Pirelli tyres. I mean, that will be his kind of silver lining, I think, that probably got him through this weekend, that the light will be at the end of the tunnel when he tries the Pirellis tomorrow. Who knows how good or how bad the Yamaha 850 will be. But obviously tomorrow, Monday, it's a secret test. No media allowed in, no fans. So the top guys testing the 850s for the very first time. So it's a very significant day. Marc Marquez will be on the 850 Ducati. I mean, basically all the 850s will have one or two full-time riders on them, plus the test riders. The next test with the 850s will be on the Monday after Red Bull Ring in September. And I believe, but don't quote me on that, I know media will be allowed into that one. I'm not sure about fans. We should try and find out and get information to people, because I know I'm looking forward to seeing the 850s for the first time. Definitely. So
Matt,
Peter,
we were in Sweden this week, and I wanted to tell our listeners a little bit about it. But of course, I hope they understand it. Not everything, because we also have our supporters, and we always want to give a little bit more to our supporters. So I think this week we will make another podcast together, Matt, where we explain really all the ins and outs. Because if you hear about it, what shock Ohlins had to tell us, you have initially a lot more questions. At least we had. So we will go into detail in it, how it really works and how it was made and why it's not illegal and so on in a later podcast. But it's actually too beautiful to not tell something to.
Basically we had a day at Ohlins. It was Tuesday, I think, wasn't it? Or was Wednesday, one or the other. Wednesday, a day at Ohlins, which doesn't happen very often. I think it was actually the first time they've allowed a bunch of journalists into their sort of race department, and we saw lots of cool stuff like them running a set of carbon forks on a rig, on a testing rig, but with the using the data from a lap at Valencia it was. So for a while at least you could actually follow the bike. You go, you'd see the shocks compress and say, well, that's turn 1, oh, that's turn 2, bit of chatter into turn 3, and all that kind of stuff. It was very cool. But the biggest thing, which Peter's going to just talk about for like 30 seconds now, was a thing called the shock. I can't remember what it was fucking called, Peter.
Shock stroke limitation device, whatever. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
Basically, it's basically what Marquez and Bagnaia have been using since the start of last year, which allows them to go lower on the ride height device coming out of corners. So quite a significant part of Ducati's success over the last year and a half, I think.
Yeah, without giving away too much, Matt, what they did is they made a device that allows Ducati to drop the ride height a little bit lower than they normally do. Because if they would have done this normally, the belly pan and everything will touch the asphalt. And to prevent it from touching the asphalt, they limit the stroke that the shock can make only when the ride height is used. So when the ride height is in a super low position, then the stroke of the shock absorber is just a couple of millimeters left. Basically, it's riding on its bump stop, on the bump stop rubber, which is a rubber, a bump stop around the shock. And that is easier said than done. That's not such an easy thing to make, but they did it. And what I also like about the story is because they explained us how they came to the idea, how they made it, and how it works. What I saw again, Matt, is that it was like an evolution thing. Gigi, quite likely, because Ducati came with a request to Ohlins to say, can you make something that does this and this and this, but only then and then and then, and completely within the rules? So Ohlins like a challenge. I mean, these guys are super enthusiastic for what they're doing. They're just like a bunch of guys that really, really love to make things a little bit better, a little bit better. They love the competition with WP, so fully on it. So they love a challenge like that. They made something, and I think they initially made something that is quite similar to what I have actually on my mountain bike. It's just where you sort of block the oil flow so you sort of block the compression damping completely. So if the oil cannot go left or right, the whole shock is blocked, which would be enough for the start. Initially, it was made for the starts. So you lower the bike a little bit lower than you normally do at the start. Then you block the shock absorber from functioning, and you ride away on a hardtail on your sprint to the first corner. Yeah. And by being a little bit lower with a super grippy rear tire, you have just a little bit better acceleration because the bike won't really less, and so on and so on and so on. But then, and that's the funny part, they started to think, well, why not use it on a couple of tracks, on a couple of corners, out of a couple of corners? Like, this is how the whole ride height device came. It started as only for the starts. Sure. Then they started to do it during the lap as well. And to make it work also during the riding the GP25 last year and now the GP26, they needed to find another solution. You cannot completely close the hydraulics of the shock when you're accelerating on real speed out of the corner. So they made another clever thing on the shock. Small, nice, clever. That's what they did, and that's what they still have. And how it really works, and how it's not illegal, and how it's still not that Ohlins has a secret relationship with Ducati to always give Ducati and Marc the best parts. That's what we're going to explain in the podcast, because basically everybody could have had the same as Ducati had.
Well, but basically, Ducati, if you make a special request to Ohlins, you have to sign a contract with them, and then they'll do something for you, and no one else is allowed to use it for like a year and a half. And that's basically, I mean, that's why we saw last year Marc switching an extra button, an extra lever on the way to the start. So he's actually sort of, an extra kind of whole shot device, basically. An addition to the whole shot device and the ride height device. So pretty trick. And we'll do a full podcast for our supporters in a few weeks. We've got a lot of other stuff coming up next couple of weeks, but in a few weeks we'll do a special one just about what we learned at Ohlins, because suspension is pretty damn important on a racing motorbike. All right, how are we doing? Have we got anything else to talk about? I think we've kind of done everything, haven't we?
No.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
45 minutes. That was short.
Yeah, I know. We haven't managed to waffle on for an hour. Remarkable. Remarkable. Okay, everyone. Thank you. Thanks for listening. You can go down to the pub early tonight. Well done. And so can we, which is nice. Thanks, Peter. Thanks, Sam, our producer. Thanks to all our supporters. You can support us at oxleybomb.com. Have a look at press the Patreon button, see how much we want to charge you. So a few quid a month. Good value, we think. All right, we'll be back, for our supporters on Thursday, Friday and Saturday with updates, Assen updates, and then back with our full pod on the Sunday from Assen. Thanks and good.